The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round three. The winner would play Djokovic most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I'd buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on
Welcome to News in today. Exciting news last night. Obviously, games and news are abound as the start of the NFL season, and we got off to a pretty good start. Chiefs and Ravens in a battle last night. Obviously, missed by a toe. We'll get into that in just a moment. But breaking news now is that Jalen Ramsey has wrecked the cornerback market yet again in the NFL. Patrick Surtain just days ago become the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. He is now surpassed by a Jalen Ramsey extension with the Miami Dolphins. That 3-year extension is worth $24.1 million per year to make him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history for a second time in his career, according to Adam Schefter. The deal negotiated by David Mulgeta of Athletes First. It seems like they were working on this for several weeks, talking about an extension. And once the Surtain deal came in to actually reset the market, it gave them impetus to extend Jalen Ramsey. He turns 30 next month, so not a young player, but still one of the top corners in the league. And I think obviously a great thing for the Miami Dolphins to create some stability in the defense after losing a key piece like Christian Wilkins in the offseason. It's a good momentum for them going into this season. So back to last night's game, we had the Chiefs and the Ravens. Clearly the big news there was Lamar Jackson once again continuing to run. I think you should out of a game like that because it's a very tough place to go and win time of year there on a celebratory night like the Ravens had to. A very tough environment. I thought the offense was a little bit herky-jerky, a lot of Lamar trying to create plays on his own. Isaiah Likely had a massive game. On the flip side for the Chiefs, Rashee Rice, clearly a big part of the passing offense. Doesn't have to be the Travis Kelce show anymore because Rice and Isaiah Pacheco carried the load last night. Mahomes making key plays. Lamar missing wide open Zay Flowers / Rashad Bateman in the end zone, but he did hit Isaiah Likely, just missed by that much. So tough start for the Ravens in terms of taking an L, but I think the prospects for them this season are really good as long as they can try to protect Lamar Jackson a little better than they have been, as you see right there. Toe so close. Isaiah likely thought he had it. There was a celebration, but just out. Good call. Are the NFL cameras. So, got a clip here from Patrick Mahomes talking about last night's victory.
No, it definitely nerve-wracking. Because it looked good from my angle on the sideline, but then the first view you could see the cleat. So that's a great football team, and I'm sure we'll see him again at some point in the playoffs. So now we're happy with the win now, and he's got to wear white cleats next time. That's my advice for him. I think it's just I think everybody accepts everybody in this offense, and they learn so much from Trav. They pick his brain, and they listen to him talk to me, and we build all throughout the year. And you can see Rashid just kind of picked up right where he left off last year. Xavier made some big plays. And so it's just we're going to continue to build and then hopefully get Hollywood back and see what this offense can really be. 100%. Just having him out there, it just opens up stuff. You saw when he's out there, they're playing shell coverages. It's getting guys like Trav and it's getting guys like Rashid open underneath. And that's what's so great about this offense is we're able to do all of that. And that's when we're at our best. And so, like I said, we get Hollywood out there too. It's going to be tough for defense to decide who they want to cover.
So the Chiefs covered last night, obviously just slightly over the total, which came in around 46.5. So it depends where you got it, but 47 was the total last night. Here's John Harbaugh talking about the disappointment of starting off the season with a loss.
I think Isaiah played just a great football game, a courageous game. I made so many plays, especially down the stretch, play after play. I put Lamar obviously in the same category. All those guys. Those guys were making plays and fighting. The offensive line, I thought, did a heck of a job out there. A lot of question marks that, the pundits and the prognosticators had about the offensive line, saying that with that offensive line, we couldn't do anything. And to see the way they went out there and played against that defense, I thought was pretty impressive. And that's a challenge, especially in this environment. Communication, and there were problems on both sides. But I thought Isaiah played a great football game. I was proud of him and a lot of other guys, too.
All right, turning the page from last night into tonight's game, which can be found exclusively on Peacock. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, the Eagles will take on the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles favored by just under a field goal, total of 49.5. Going to be exciting. The Eagles closed out the season losing 6 of their last 7 games. The Packers closed out last season winning 7 of their last 10, including a blowout victory on the road in Dallas in the playoffs. But can year number 2 of the full year of Jordan Love and that young receiving core reap even more rewards? We'll see tonight in Brazil. I'll tell you what I like in that game. Given the fact that it's such a late start, 9:15 p.m. Eastern, and the teams have had to travel all this way, I'm going to lead towards my primetime under. Both offenses are explosive. I'd love nothing more than to see a lot of points on the board. I just think it's a little bit tricky considering all the travel and the start of the game. I think we'll see it a little under that pretty high total of 49.5. So give me a primetime under tonight. As we move on to other stories, big news in college and college business, which is that the settlements that have been talked about in the NCAA have now hit a little bit of a snag in that the judge has now basically sent it back to the lawyers to figure out if there's even a deal in place. So all of these settlements that we think could move us into another era of college athletics are on hold. U.S. District Court Judge Claudia Wilkin won't rule on the House settlement following yesterday's hearing and throw it back on the lawyers to find something workable. I think it seems likely to me that there will be a settlement, according to a lot of the parties involved. But we have to talk about, this is NCAA counsel Rakesh Kilaru, we have to talk about whether we have a deal. The NCAA counsel says they don't want to finalize the Hubbard settlement without doing the House settlement. The House plaintiffs say that's not the case. So a lot of lawyering going on. It's my opinion, and I have a lot of experience in this topic. It is my opinion, not that I'm an attorney, but I have a lot of experience following this and knowing the NCAA businesses pretty well. I think we're headed towards a settlement. It's just a snag in the process, and we'll get there eventually. So moving on, Xavier Babadar, a.k.a. Chiefsaholic, famous for wearing a wolf uniform in the stands at 30 years old, is sentenced to 17 years in prison for robberies. He would apparently go on the road where the Chiefs were playing, rob a bank in that area, and then take off with whatever money he was able to find. So he seems remorseful about it, but he's going to be remorseful for a really long time because he'll be in prison for 17 years. Steelers, Russell Wilson, limited in practice due to calf tightness. We're going to talk injuries a little bit later in the hour with Dr. Chow on some other injuries, but this is a tough start to the season. The Steelers already I don't think any Steelers fan, including me, are particularly confident in the quarterback situation, and have one of them, the starter, entering the season with perhaps a minor injury isn't great. In other quarterback news, Dak Prescott does not see Sunday's season opener against the Cleveland Browns as some sort of contract deadline to getting an extension finalized. I think it's a good thing. The good news for Cowboys fans is Dak is not of the opinion that, well, we didn't negotiate by opening day, so we're just going to let it play out and we'll see what happens after the season. I think it's an indication that both parties want to see a conclusion to this negotiation, and they are willing to talk about it during this season. So a lot more coming up this hour. We're going to talk college football. We're going to talk NFL. We've got Bill Bender coming up next to preview Texas and Michigan, as well as Tennessee and NC State. I mentioned Dr. Chow with the injuries, Jim Gazzale to give us an update on some of the latest gambling news, as well as Simon Applebaum to talk about Peacock, the NFL, and more distribution.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no. So to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. That's the way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
We are back, welcoming in Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Bill's going to be covering big games all weekend. Starts off with the biggest one of all, a couple of top 10 teams taking on each other in the Big House. Bill, you'll be there on site to watch the Longhorns come in and try to take down Michigan. What are your expectations here, given that Texas seemingly has a lot of momentum coming off just a massive victory against Colorado State?
Well, it'll be a spectacle when you consider that since 1991, Michigan has only played 8 ranked teams in non-conference games, not named Notre Dame there. And they are memorable games. I'm talking Cordell Stewart's Hail Mary, Scott Dreisbach with a last-second touchdown pass against Virginia. And most of these games, with the exception of a Florida State matchup in 1991, were close. So this notion that Texas is just going to walk in the big house and beat Michigan by 2 or 3 touchdowns, to me, is kind of silly, knowing that Michigan can stop the run. Michigan is going to have to make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable, especially in the middle of the field. And I think the big question, obviously, is will the Wolverines have enough offense between quarterbacks Davis Warren and Alex Orji to keep it close? The one thing I will say, if Michigan falls behind 10 or 14-0 in the first quarter, of course they'd be in trouble, but most ranked teams would be in that situation anyway.
How about the news that Sharon Moore is technically not under contract? Ward Manuel says they're working towards it. Even still, it's highly unusual that would be the case, no?
That's bizarre at minimum, right? Like that you have a head coach not under contract with the backdrop of double-barrel NCAA investigations. Not one that obviously Jim Harbaugh got hit with a show cause, but I don't think Jim Harbaugh cares. He's spending his time unloading on the NCAA every opportunity he gets. I think for Sharon Moore, that puts some pressure on this season because basically the consensus is that Michigan will take a step back. They play Texas. They play a much improved USC team in a couple weeks. They play Oregon. And all of those games are at the big house. And when they lose at Michigan, which they haven't done the last 3 seasons, at the big house, it becomes that much more dramatic. So I would say bizarre at minimum, and instability never works in college football. I think that's part of the reason why Billy Napier, they're starting DJ Lagway, and I wouldn't be surprised if he starts for a considerable amount of time, maybe the rest of the season.
Yeah, and for Ward to say something like these contracts don't just happen overnight, there are things that have popped up. It's so nebulous, it makes you automatically concerned, right? That choice of words is not what I would want if I were Sharon Moore. Does that mean things have popped up because of all the Connor Stallions and infractions that are being investigated? Does that mean all the house settlements that we've been talking about for months? It could mean anything, and it makes it frankly creates more curiosity than it needed to for your head coach. So these teams have only played once. It was a 38-37 victory by the Longhorns. We'll see if they can go up there and get another 1-point win or more. They are favored by 7.5. So moving on to another big matchup here, Tennessee versus NC State, 2 ranked teams. NC State, kind of a plucky team under Dave Doran that's been really building some consistency over the years, but they're going up against a Tennessee team where I think everybody's new favorite toy in college football is Nico, and he impressed in week 1. Do you expect him to impress again in week 2?
Well, because we're going to have to say it for the next 2 years, it's Nico Iamaleava. And he has shot up to 4th on the Heisman Trophy odds. I had years of practice with Tua Tagovailoa when he was at Alabama, so I've mastered this a little bit, okay? Nico's had 2 starts. Iowa last week against Chattanooga, 33 of 47. That's 72.3% completion percentage. He's always in total control. He does just such a nice job of managing that offense. This Tennessee offense looks a lot like it did with Hendon Hooker 2 years ago, and that means 40 points per game. Not only do I like Tennessee in this game against NC State, and I know the Wolfpack are being a little underplayed because they struggled in the first half against Western Carolina. I like Nico to shoot up that Heisman board even more. I think he's a good bet to get to New York if this continues. I like Tennessee to win this game by 2 touchdowns. I think they win in that 35-21 range. And then I think you got to start talking about them and the college football playoff when the SEC is going to get 3 or 4 teams in the college football playoff. They are going to be a factor in this, especially when you consider LSU, Texas A&M, those teams lost. Missouri has a soft non-conference schedule. And Tennessee sitting there, they remind me a lot of that team that they had 2 years ago.
Yeah, currently 9.5 is that spread with a total of 60.5. So points expected. I'm with Bill. Think that Tennessee gets one here, and I think you can consider that a lot of points will be scored. 35-21 may even be a little light on the Tennessee side. Let's squeeze one more in. Colorado, Nebraska. When you and I were growing up, it was a bigger game than it has been for the last couple of decades, but safe to say they get a chance to meet here with star quarterbacks under center, one new and one, like you said about Nico Shador, perhaps trying to get to New York. So what do you expect out of Colorado, Nebraska?
When we were watching this game growing up, they ran the ball every time. They maybe threw it 10 times the entire game. We may see 10 throws in the first 3 minutes between Shador Sanders, exceptional at throwing the ball down the field, 5 of 8 on throws of 20 yards or more last week. Nebraska, big statement game for them. They rushed for more than 200 yards in this game last year. I think Dylan Raiola is a potential program changer. They've wanted this game for a year. I think Nebraska, as long as they don't turn the ball over, which we've heard for about a decade, takes care of business in this game. The pass rush lands a little bit. The running game dominates. Matt Rule scores a statement victory. It's going to be close in the first half, but I think Nebraska pulls away and covers that spread.
Interesting. I like it a lot. Obviously, tons of turnover in the Colorado program. 50 guys out, 45 guys in. It's tough. And the sliding doors moment of Kyle McCord committing to Nebraska and then backing out to Syracuse may have worked out for 3 programs, for Syracuse, for Nebraska with Raiola, and then Will Howard at Ohio State, everybody getting a shot and seemingly all ready to have big seasons. Great stuff, as always, from Bill. He'll be on site in the Big House tomorrow for Texas, Michigan. He's at the Sporting News. Bill, we'll talk to you again soon.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no. So to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Thanks to Bill Bender on the college side of things. We're going to focus back on the NFL. Now, we've got a few pretty sizable injuries that we have to monitor, but Dr. David Chow, is here to maybe quell some of your fears. We'll start off with his thoughts on Christian McCaffrey's leg injury at the moment.
How worried should we be about Christian McCaffrey and his calf injury for the 49ers? Yes, calf injuries linger. This is why the 49ers shut CMC down for all of the preseason. We actually anticipate this to be a minor issue. He had a calf strain last season, missed 2 games. Minimal time here, a 6 score, relatively high of 92 out of 100 for him at SICScore.com.
Niners favored taking on the Jets on Monday night, so we'll see how that goes. Christian McCaffrey's current rushing prop, 75.5. The combined rushing and receiving prop at 115.5. So keep in mind if that he doesn't seem concerned, but going up against the Jets with that concern might shade you to the under. So let's talk about Justin Herbert. Been dealing with some bumps and bruises during camp. Here's Dr. David Chow once again, a former orthopedic surgeon for the Chargers, talking about Justin Herbert.
We said all along that Justin Herbert will play week 1. He's going to play week 1. He's not going to miss any game time as a result of the plantar fasciitis. It can be injected. It can be managed. The problem is that it can linger and affect practice time during the week. Yes, he's lost some practice time to get with his young receivers, but he was around all off season. So really minimum worry here for Jim Harbaugh and his quarterback Justin Herbert as they launch a new era for the Chargers. Full steam ahead. He won't miss any playing time. It's a matter of getting used to the new system.
Chargers a field goal favorite against the Raiders at 4:05 Eastern on Sunday. Kind of like the Chargers in that one. I think Justin Herbert's passing prop just at 223.5. I think that's a function not really so much of the injury, but of the style of play that's anticipated. Jim Harbaugh utilizing that huge offensive line led by new draft pick Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson. They've used 3 first-round draft picks to fix that offensive line, and now they have a hell of a unit there to block for Justin Herbert and get some guys loose. So next injuries, Anthony Richardson. His obviously the most serious, dealing with surgery in the offseason. Here's Dr. Chow and Anthony Richards' chances of being healthy going into week 1.
We really have very little worry about his throwing shoulder and the surgery. It was an AC joint separation, surgery with good results. Very little worry about his shoulder. We do have significant worry at Sports Injury Central if he continues to run the ball as often as he did. In 4 games, he took several big shots last year. The risk is with how much he runs and when he gets hit when he runs. The shoulder, we're not worried about. High 6 score of 91 for Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson.
All right, so good news for Colts fans. They are 2.5-point home divisional dogs, typically a profitable position to be in. His rushing prop at 43.5, passing prop at 223.5, something to consider. He's a huge athlete. I think people are very bullish on him. I am, like Dr. Chow, though, I am concerned if he continues to take shots on his shoulder. Look for Shane Steichen to start to try to utilize the brotherly shove that he utilized for Jalen Hurts in Philly. I think he'll utilize that with Anthony Richardson as well as he racks up some rushing touchdowns and some key first downs this season. And finally, we go to the last one on Dr. Chow. Jahmyr Gibbs maybe not getting a full load of carries this weekend in week 1.
The Lions running back has had history of hamstring issues. Training camp, another hamstring issue. The good news back at practice. We don't anticipate that he'll miss week 1. He's going to play. Head coach has indicated that. But his usage may be down. He's missed several weeks of training camp. The Lions also have David Montgomery. So expect him to be healthy. But in terms of the share of the snaps, it may favor Montgomery more than Gibbs, at least in week 1. But the good news is no real health worry for Jahmyr Gibbs, but there will be some ramp up to full utilization for the Lions. This is Dr. David Chow. Go to SICScore.com for the latest.
There you go. Go to SICScore.com for all the latest on all the injuries. Appreciate all of that information. Jahmyr Gibbs rushing prop currently 54.5 as the Lions are favored on Sunday Night Football against the Rams. When we come back, Tim Gazzale giving us the latest news from the Eagles Sports Report. We're back on the grid on NewsWire after this.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. That's what champions do.
Are welcoming in Jim Gazzale from Sports Report. Find him on X at Jim Gazzale. So, Jim, good to see you. NFL season underway. I know you're an excited Jets fan. We'll get to that in a moment. I know you're excited to boldly predict where they have never been before. So we'll see what we can pick up later on. But let's start in Massachusetts, where regulators will put Massachusetts sports betting limits on center stage by early October. Can you fill us in on those details?
Yeah, so Massachusetts sports betting regulators held an agenda-setting meeting earlier this week, and they marked September 11th, next Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, for their roundtable with sportsbook operators to discuss wagering limits. And this has been a hot topic in Massachusetts for the last couple of months. Regulators started talking about this back in March. In May, they attempted to host a roundtable with operators who essentially blew them off. They did not show up. They did not attend the originally scheduled roundtable with regulators in Massachusetts. And that kind of upset the regulators, as you could imagine. Some of the commissioners believe a little bit of the early discourse between the sports bettors themselves, who were also invited to the roundtable, might have upset the operators and prevented them from wanting to show up initially. So they've kind of gone back and forth over the last couple of weeks and months trying to find a date where the sports betting apps, the operators, are expected now to attend this roundtable that is scheduled for next Wednesday. And what the regulators want to know is, what are the practices? How are the decisions being made around limiting sports bettors? And of course, Mike, as you know, and most everybody else listening most likely knows, what we're referring to is essentially successful bettors being told or forced to not be able to bet as much as they want, being limited to a couple of dollars per bet. And obviously that upsets a lot of the successful sports bettors, the professional sports bettors, and they had a lot of things to say during that initial roundtable that the operators blew off. So a lot of back and forth over the last couple of weeks. But we do have that date set for Wednesday, September 11th, next week, where the operators will get together with the regulators. Sports bettors will be there as well, along with some responsible gaming groups, to all sit down and hopefully have a nice, calm, and productive conversations around the strategies, the decisions, the processes around limiting sports bettors in Massachusetts.
Jim, the bottom line is if a bettor gets limited, they don't have much recourse to be able to fight it. They can appeal to that particular operator, but if you happen to be, and I know some people that are in this position, a successful prop bettor, you're going to be limited to for example, you can't bet any more than $20 on any props because they know if you have a high win rate, they don't want to be at risk if they put up a bad line, particularly on stuff like props, that they could be taken for a lot of money on a given day. So that's really where this happens, and the bettors don't have much recourse, correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. And I think what we've seen since Massachusetts legalized sports betting is that that group of commissioners, those regulators, are one of, if not the most open and public in their decision making. Every single meeting that they have is streamed live on YouTube through their website, and they're interested in hearing about these practices to see what they can do to help the public, help the bettor, and also make sure that everything is being followed to the letter of the gaming regulations in Massachusetts. So we'll see what that discussion brings next week. But I think what we've seen over the last handful of months is that the regulators in Massachusetts are always willing to have these types of conversations in a public forum.
Good stuff there. How about Saratoga? The summer racing season wraps up in Saratoga, and it was a good summer for them, correct?
Yeah, handle was up a handful of millions of dollars, 803.8 million bet on Saratoga races from mid-July through Labor Day, up a few million from last year, which was positive. The average daily handle was up about 3% as well. Sort of the big note for me coming out of the summer was Travers Day, their biggest day of the summer, $63 million in handle. And it just reconfirms and kind of continues the trend that we've seen in horse racing so far this year, where the big marquee mainstream events are the ones that are generating the most handle. We had record-setting handle on the Kentucky Derby. Preakness Stakes betting increased this year compared to last year. Record-setting Belmont Stakes handle for a non-Triple Crown year, and now we have the Travers Stakes with that increase in handle as well. And a lot of that early success this year during the Triple Crown season was driven in large part to the sports books entering the marketplace. FanDuel had a record-setting day of horse betting for the Derby. DraftKings and their DK Horse app was the most downloaded horse betting app on Derby Day. So these marquee events have really, carried the water for the racing industry so far this year. And, we'll see what ultimately happens at the end of the year here coming up in the fall with the Breeders' Cup. But for the most part, we've seen these marquee events really boost the handle overall for the industry, while some of the other smaller tracks that don't necessarily get a lot of national attention are still, scrapping and clawing for whatever handle that they can get.
Yeah, eventizing and growing the size of the event is really key from a marketing perspective in a lot of different ways, right? On-site sales and tickets and concessions, as well as the tangential betting handles that happen around those events. So good news for Travers and Travers Day and Saratoga in general. Okay, Ohio, news in Ohio on the gambling front. What's going on with Ohio? Positive news, I presume.
Yeah, a couple of interesting notes coming out of Ohio from July. They were up. Handle was up 43% this year compared to July of 2023, which is a positive. It's a trend that we've seen across the country. Most markets, especially the larger ones, which I would lump Ohio in with those larger sports betting markets that we see around the U.S., just continuing to grow year over year, which is a positive. DraftKings had the most handle in the market for 3 straight months. And what was interesting to me about that was that they've been giving away fewer promotional dollars. So fewer free bets, fewer bet credits, odds boost, bonus bets, whatever you want to call it these days. They were giving away fewer of those than FanDuel and still were able to produce more volume. Where am I here? $15.2 million for DraftKings in terms of promotional spending compared to 19.6 for FanDuel. Though, while DraftKings does have that volume edge over the last couple of months since May, FanDuel has definitely outpaced them in terms of overall revenue. $74 million in winnings for FanDuel compared to $53.3 million for DraftKings in Ohio for July.
All right, good stuff. As always, Jim Gazzale from Legal Sports Report. The Jets' win total this year is 9.5, Jim. Are we over or are we under? What are the expectations? I got like 10 seconds for you.
I'm going over all the way to the Super Bowl, Mike.
All right, Jets, AFC champ. The conference odds for the Jets are, I can't get them. I'll do them on the way back. No, there they are. 8-1. 8-1. Play it. Play it for Jim. We'll be back after this.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Mike Blewitt in for Craig Mish. Welcoming in Simon Applebaum. Simon here to talk about some TV business. And Simon will start off with the DirecTV Disney dispute. Has 2 potential chances to end quickly. What are those options for this to come to a close, this rift?
I'll tell you, Mike, good to be with you. It is not looking good for DirecTV's 11 million plus subscribers. It looks like this is going to be a standoff that will not be settled before Monday Night Football when the Jets happen on Monday night on ESPN and ABC. And the reason why is that both sides feel that their needs are not being met. DirecTV, like Charter last year, wants to have the ability to schedule ABC, ESPN, Disney programming into genre tiers, whether it's ESPN for sports or ABC with ABC stations, or whether it's news, other lifestyle genres. And what Disney is saying is, no way, Jose, are we going to allow that to happen. We want our channels to go. I also think that, like Charter, DirecTV wants to put Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and make it available to at least some of their subscribers. So right now it looks like there's a standoff, no negotiations yet. The countdown in terms of the fact of the matter is they dropped the signals. Disney did on DirecTV right before the college football game on Friday night. And it looks like right now, unless there's a change of heart by both sides, that it looks like this DirecTV situation is going to be around for a very long time. And DirecTV has done this before with other programmers, where they have stretched out the controversies over carriage for quite some time.
Yeah, and there's a massive college football slate tomorrow, obviously. So if you're a DirecTV person and you need the ESPN family of networks or the Disney family of networks, I think you're out of luck for this weekend. Get over to a friend's house that does not have DirecTV. So more news on Netflix. You can't spell Netflix without NFL. That's what they say. So going to be home to watch the NFL's 2024 Christmas Day game. So a big duo there of the NFL and Netflix, and they have a duo of games on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and the fact that Netflix for the first time is doing Christmas Day games, a pair which CBS Sports, by the way, will produce. We don't know who the on-air team is going to be. That's just an example of what is the big trend of the NFL this year on television, which is more mega content, regular season, and playoff games, including the Peacock game tonight from São Paulo, Brazil, which is an exclusive for them. You're going to see, obviously, Prime Video, Thursday Night Football, plus the Black Friday game, maybe another game coming in their schedule at some point. You'll have, I think, one game on ESPN Plus. You've got the Peacock exclusive game tonight. You have the Netflix Christmas Day games. You have at least one playoff game that's going to go on a mega content service. And I think what the NFL is trying to say is, while broadcast TV is still going to get the majority of the games, we know that more and more people are watching games and watching television on smart TV sets, on smart TV devices, and multi-channel bundles, and mega content services like Netflix, like Prime Video, like Disney Plus, like Max, etc. The other sports leagues are going toward it, and we have to as well. So I think that's one of the big things with the season. Also, you're going to see more alternative telecasts, like the Peyton Eli Manning games on ESPN2, which start Monday night. Bill Belichick, by the way, the former Patriots coach, is going to be the first half guest from Peyton and Eli all season long. I think you'll see more of the family-friendly animated shows like what Disney did with one NFL game last year internationally. The Nickelodeon games will be back at least one regular season with Noah Eagle and Nate Burleson on the call. And I think you're going to see at some point an interactive alternative telecast. Well, let's say if you want to call up stats on players, stats on teams, stats on leagues in general, and other information, you'll be able to do that with your voice remote, or other means. In terms of on-air talent with the NFL season, two big things. One, Tom Brady becoming the new NFL Fox lead analyst. He's working with Kevin Burkhardt, who's become the Joe Buck, if you will, of Fox Sports, doing great on both lead on baseball and on football. What I understand is that Brady has really taken this to heart. He is really studying up on this, and I think he's going to do pretty well with Kevin Burkhardt along to coach him. And then we have Mike Greenberg, who on Sunday morning makes his debut as the new host of Sunday NFL Countdown ESPN. Yes, I know I was a big fan of Sam Ponder. I thought it was unfortunate that she got knocked off by ESPN. But Mike is good. Laura Rutledge would have been a very good substitute as well. But Greenberg has had the experience with Get Up, working with multiple commentators, working with this kind of a format. And I think Greenberg will do very, very well in his new gig.
Plus, ESPN is going to be hosting the Super Bowl in 2026. I think they keep this together, and their top-end talent with you every Sunday on an NFL Sunday sort of ushers in the next 18 months to 2 years of NFL coverage as they finally broadcast their first Super Bowl. So good stuff there. How about, and Tom Brady, I think we're all curious to see. We've seen some real success with guys like Romo and even Greg Olsen, frankly, who I like a lot, that are right off the field and into the booth. They have some really interesting insight, and I think Brady will be willing to show that as well. How about Dan Le Batard? His daily DraftKings podcast simulcast picks up some additional distribution, correct?
Yes, there is. And to some people, it might be surprising because starting soon, his podcast, which is a video podcast, which is on DraftKings Network, incidentally, was on Samsung Smart TV sets and other places, is going to get a big jump in circulation because it's going to go on both Max and on Peacock live. Why do you think? Why are both? Because Le Batard really needs the distribution. And so far, DraftKings is only on at least one smart TV set maker, Samsung, as well as maybe a few multi-channel bundles. With this, he gets Max, he gets Peacock, he gets on more households live, he gets on more multi-channel bundles live. So this is a big, big move for Dan and that whole podcast crew. And one more thing about the NFL. You're going to see more sports betting programming all over the place, including sports betting segments on the NFL Today, on Fox NFL Sunday, and so forth. Why? Because ESPN next year is going to launch a sports betting app as part of their mega content service where you can play sports bets on the TV set. So if I'm ESPN and if I'm also DraftKings Network, FanDuel, everybody else, I would really take a look at the possibility of sports betting on the television set in a big way.
Yeah, obviously with the rollout of ESPN Bet and Penn Gaming, that will just be another extension of them trying to roll that out, market it to people as heavily as they can. The final thing that Simon brought to our attention, the Sports Reporters is back. You got like 20 seconds here, Simon, on the Sports Reporters.
And for a long time ago, it was must-see Sunday morning television. It is now on YouTube. Great opening segment with Jeremy Schaap hosting with Mike Tirico, Kevin Harlan, Ian Eagle, and Joe Buck. It is a great, great watch.
Great stuff. I grew up on that show. Inspired me to do what I do now. I'm happy to have it back, regardless of who's on there. Thank you, Simon. We'll talk to you again soon.
You're welcome.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no. So to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. That's the way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team champions. Team golf is back. Oh, yes! Are you ready? Let's go! That's what champions do.
Back on NewsWire, thanks to Craig Mish for letting me keep his seat warm here over the last hour. Thank you to Simon Applebaum giving us some great information on TV and podcast distribution, to Jim Gazzale for updating us on from the Legal Sports Report, and Bill Bender highlighting some key college games as he goes to the Big House to cover the Longhorns and the Wolverines. So now we're going to just have a couple of big stories here. It's the last licks on NewsWire. Alex Morgan retiring from soccer, U.S. women's national team superstar, winner of an Olympic gold medal and 2 World Cups. Is that right? Yes, 2 World Cups. Alex Morgan, at 35 years of age, has officially announced her retirement. She was part of the women's national team training camp on the run-up to the Olympics and was left off the team. And I think that was a sign that she was going to go on to greener pastures in her retirement. An all-time great for the U.S. women's national team has decided to retire. Number 2, got John Sterling. I am a Yankees fan, so this is pretty interesting news. John Sterling going to come back for the playoffs. He stepped away from his day-to-day duties, but he will now return to call some playoff games. I think, obviously, to be determined. The Yankees technically not officially in the playoffs, but looking pretty darn good right now to be a sure bet to be there. John Sterling will come back and call some of those playoff games. I think Yankees fans will be happy to have him, and maybe it's a farewell of sorts for John Sterling, as he had to step away mid-season previously. So finally, a little bit about me and our shows going on this weekend. In-Game Live. I'll be hosting In-Game Live starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. So the guys will start off the day by getting you your fantasy fix, and that's with Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker. They'll be taking care of your fantasy needs, and it rolls right into Pro Football Today. That's Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. They hosted last night to kick it off, and then they'll be there on Sunday morning previewing all the games, and then they handed it right off to your guy right here. And me and Joe Rainieri will be with you for 3.5 hours doing In-Game Live, covering all the 1 o'clock games. We'll get you set up with the 4 o'clocks and then hand it off to Scott Wetzel and the crew from 4:30 to 8. And In-Game Live is on all day on the weekends, all night, every night, covering any live sport. Obviously, our focus on NFL Sundays are those NFL games. We keep you updated on other games as well when necessary, but a big football focus. It's if for anybody that hasn't watched it before, it's very, very similar to our own version of Red Zone. We're giving you all the news live, giving you live betting information, live betting opportunities, and looking towards doing that. Joe and I did it together last year. We were in the late games. Now we move up. We'll be taking on some more games, so I'm excited about it. My producer, Frank Bartunik, that has been with me this morning for this show, will be producing that show. So excited to be working with him, and Vin Buschetta, who will be helping us look as good as we possibly can with graphics and everything else. And it's not really just about bet the side, bet the total at the beginning of the game. I think the fun that you can have with In-Game Live is finding those opportunities when a favorite falls behind, and then you can perhaps jump on a unique line there. Different prop lines that change throughout the game. That's the kind of stuff that Joe and I track. We're not just telling you what the scores are, because you probably have that on another TV or on your phone somewhere. So we're excited to do that. I know everybody at SportsGrid is excited to have you with us to start this NFL season. Kicked off last night with a big win for the Chiefs, 27-20, and we'll go down to South America for the first time and have the Eagles and the Packers going at it tonight. Frank's Jets and Jim Gazzale's Jets, they're going to kick it off on Monday night. My Steelers kick it off Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. Russell Wilson dealing with a calf injury. I don't know. I don't know what to tell anybody about the Steelers. There's always an expectation that this is probably the year that they fall apart. But then you look at the defense that's rostered on that team, and you're like, actually, maybe they can scrape out 9 wins. Somehow Mike Tomlin has the opportunity to do that. I don't have high hopes for the Steelers this year, but I think they'll be a highly competitive team because that defense is nasty. So excited to watch tonight. Remember, it's on Peacock. If you don't have Peacock, go out and get it. And then turn on In-Game Live, and we'll be covering it. So you got In-Game Live on your main screen, maybe Peacock on your phone. How's that? I like that set better. Thanks for watching NewsWire. Listening.